Hey everyone, Jay Whitner here with Kickstarter Coaching and our TV show, Crowdfunding Coverage. Each month we cover what happened in crowdfunding, so today we're going to be talking about what happened in March of 2015. There were 10 big crowdfunding campaigns during the month that raised $500,000 or more, and collectively these big campaigns brought in over $30 million. The biggest campaign of the month was Pebble Time, which itself brought in $20 million. So we'll talk about that and 7 other big campaigns later on in our broadcast. First, the news. Crowdfunding has been growing rapidly for many years, and the real estate crowdfunding recently was announced that last year they raised over $1 billion for real estate through crowdfunding, with over half of that being conducted in the United States. That represents an increase of over double the prior year, so the growth continues to roll on in real estate crowdfunding. The second largest crowdfunding site is Indiegogo, and they've been making some great progress over the last 6 months or so with some big campaigns raising a lot of money. They have a campaign running right now that is the biggest one so far on their platform. This information is quite old, from early March. It already raised over $5 million. This is a new technology for beekeepers to be able to harvest more honey, disturbing the bees less, and having the operators stung less times by the bees. So this is already well on its way to sort of the $10 million mark, frankly. I think the last time I looked at this campaign it was up about $8 million. So we'll have to see where it ends up, but congratulations to Indiegogo on a really big campaign. The New York Times has decided to do more work with Kickstarter in terms of films that are developed through Kickstarter. So they put together a little partnership, and they're highlighting some of these Kickstarter films in the New York Times on their website and so forth. As you may be aware, the Securities and Exchange Commission was charged a couple of years ago with developing regulations for equity crowdfunding for Main Street, a lot of people call it, such that small companies could raise $1 million, $2 million through crowdfunding via unaccredited investors. The SEC is still working on this, has not finished its work. So many states have taken matters in their own hands and made it legal in various states. Florida was in the news that now Florida is looking at making crowdfunding within the state legal and developing the rule framework for that. This is significant because Florida is the third largest state. I mentioned this before, but Pebble Time set a new record last month with their Kickstarter project raising over $20 million for a smartwatch, which is perhaps extra interesting given that Apple is coming out with their smartwatch. So we'll see how all this plays out. But congratulations to Pebble Time with a new record, $20 million. So now we're going to talk about some certain campaigns, but let's first talk about some of the metrics for the 10 big campaigns that broke $500,000 during the month. The size range was $760,000 up to $20 million. The length of the videos in the campaigns ranged from about 1.5 minutes to 7.5 minutes. If you're looking at doing a campaign, do not do a video that's 7.5 minutes long. That is almost always the wrong thing to do, although in this case, obviously, it worked out for them. In the updates, this is a communication between the person who's running the campaign and their supporters. You tell people what's going on, and what's going right, what's going wrong, and so forth. These campaigns have between 8 and 52 updates already. So they're maintaining good communications with the community that supports them, which is best practice. The length of the campaigns range from 30 days to 60 days. And the current wisdom right now is somewhere in the 30-day range is thought to be the best. But some campaigns are running all the way out to 60 days. And occasionally you'll see one that's under 30 days, but that's more rare. In the reward levels, between 4 and 19, 4 seems a little bit on the skimpy side to me. But, and we'll see as we get into the campaigns themselves, In certain cases, it's just they had a certain product and they were just offering the product without any of the supplementary things that you often see in campaigns like shirts and coffee cups and that kind of thing. So our first campaign, this was really neat. It's called the Beam. So imagine you're doing a presentation at work, like with your laptop and your projector to put it up on a big screen for everybody. Imagine instead of the screen, it's just a bulb that like you put into a regular light socket. That's what the Beam idea is. It's a bulb in a special housing that communicates via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and stuff, so you can project whatever you want from like any light socket, basically. This was a pretty neat idea. The price point on this, I think, was $350 is the regular price to buy one of these Beam devices. So they're off to a good start with a good idea. They had 4 stretch goals for the campaign, and despite the fact that they raised a lot of money, they did not reach their stretch goals that they had set. They had a couple of early bird pricing levels. This is to encourage early adoption and early contributions, so they had a couple of those. And they had several gifts in their campaign. One I thought was kind of neat is a lot of campaigns have a picture of the team. And if you glanced at the campaign, you see, oh, there's a picture of their team. It turned out that the picture was a GIF. So every once in a while, the people would like change their expressions and stuff. Anything that you do that's a little different, makes people smile, it's usually in your best interest for your campaign. So anyway, that's the Beam. Next, we had a game called Underworld Ascended. Raised quite a bit of money, obviously, that we're talking about it. They had some things going for them in their campaign. They had big endorsements, people in their industry that said, it's a cool game, good people. Whenever you can get quality endorsements, it's usually in your favor to do so. They had some unusual stretch goals for their campaign. One was a novel. They were going to have a book written, set in the stage of the game if they reached a certain level in their campaign. I've seen that a couple of times. That's still relatively rare. Another unusual reward is they said that for the next, I think it was 10 years, every game they developed, you would get a free digital version if you backed this campaign at a high level. They also had a section on their campaign page, the text part of the page was like news. So in addition to the update feature that people use to tell the backers what's going on, there's like a section on their campaign page text where they sort of had a news area there. That was a little bit novel and a good idea, I think. The next campaign ran on Indiegogo, raised over $1 million for the Luna. This converts your bed into a smart bed. It's not the bed itself. It's like a cover for your bed with sensors on it. And it can tell how you're sleeping, your heart rate, and your breathing, and your REM sleep, and all that kind of thing. So some of the interesting things about their campaign is they had multiple sizes of their product. Now, you might say, well, they had to because beds come in different sizes, and that's true, but they really tried hard in terms of having 4 sizes all the way up to the supersized bed California King. They didn't really have to do that, but they're trying to be all-inclusive and offering what the market wants. They had 3 stretch goals. They reached all of the different stretch goals of the campaign. And because it's a technological product, they have a lot of technological specs, talking about the different sensors and what they do, exactly how sensitive they are, and how you work the bed and stuff. So a good campaign, over $1 million. This next one I thought was really neat. For all of us that have smartphones, iPods, other small electronic devices, the battery thing is always a challenge. This is not a battery pack. This is like a miniature generator that you power like with lighter fuel. It's like you put lighter fuel into this thing, and it has enough capacity, like when it has it's full of the lighter fluid in there, it can recharge your iPhone 11 times. So you're going on a trip, you're going camping, whatever, you can have this device, and you're somewhat free from all the charging requirements that we've all become accustomed to over the years. They raised a lot of money, over $1 million. They had early bird rewards to get early adoption of their campaign, so they did well with that. They offered their product in 3 colors. You might think, well, it's not the type of product that you have to offer in colors, but they did. It benefited them. That's good. They also had, they incorporated a newer strategy that's been, I've been seeing it around the last couple of months, is they offered premium product prices for low serial numbers. So like if you're one of the very first people to buy it and to get it, you might have the device number 87 or something. And people are interested in being first. So there's a price premium for that. Helps get extra money for the campaign. Who are you going to call? The Ghostbusters campaign. This was a board game that was running on Kickstarter. They raised a lot of money, again, well over $1 million. In their campaign, they had supplemental videos. A lot of people think you can only have 1 video in a campaign. You can have 2 or 3 or 8 videos. So they had some extra videos in their game. They had a deluxe version of the game, like fancier box and packaging and all that kind of stuff. In their campaign page, they really explained the details of how you play the game with some video support for all that stuff. But really what made this campaign is it's a classic movie that so many people have seen. They remember it, it makes them laugh, they have funny memories from the movie, and so they want to buy the game. So to me, the real strength of this game is the Ghostbuster franchise, as opposed to how they ran the campaign itself. Next we have the print. This is kind of a novel idea as well, that we're all taking pictures with our smartphones. This is a smartphone case that has like an instant camera built into the case. So you're taking a picture, you push a button, and it prints you a picture right there on the spot that you can give to the person whose picture you took and so forth. It accommodates a couple different phones. It's a good idea. They had on their campaign page several order buttons. This is something that people use for after the campaign. People will continue to come to campaign pages when the campaign is closed. There's a button there that links to their website or other ordering mechanisms so you can buy their product after the campaign. They had that. Again, I know I've mentioned the colors on some of the other campaigns today, but they offer their product in several different colors. One thing they did that you don't see as often is they had a pledge chart. And it was the camera itself and how many different sheets of paper, effectively the film for the camera you wanted to get, and where you were located, so you could look at the chart and see how much you would have to pay with shipping and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a little bit of a different way to handle that issue. They also had a section that was effectively sort of offering distributorships for their product. And it seemed almost as if it was more than what I've seen in the past. It was just, hey, get 10 of them, you can sell them. This seemed more like somewhat of a formalized thing that they didn't quite explicitly say it, but the idea seemed to be that, for your donation, I think it was $5,000 or $10,000, that you like would get a distributorship area or something. I hadn't seen that before, and I'd be curious to learn a little bit more about that. Next we have Crowfall. This was a game. This game did a lot of, very successful, raised almost $2 million. They had some interesting stretch goals, a lot of them, which you often see in games. About half of them were financial, how much money was raised. About half of the stretch goals were about how many backers they had, which is also an interesting way to approach the problem. A big feature of their campaign was the expertise of the creators. They had a lot of those GIFs, short videos with the motion in there. And they had something I don't think I've seen before, although maybe I haven't noticed. There were game advantages for the big donors. Like you would have extra superpowers in the game if you're a big backer or a bigger castle and that kind of thing. So that was an interesting, that you're like buying in to have certain titles, like you're one of the princes of the game or something. Last campaign is Pebble Time. A huge campaign, over $20 million. Something that just a couple of years ago would have been thought probably impossible by most people. Biggest Kickstarter campaign ever, and Indiegogo as well has not had a campaign this large. They offered a lot of choice in their campaign. different colors of watches, different bands. They had 2 types of watches. They had several of the gifts for little mini videos to explain features and show things. But really, one of the strongest things, it's a little bit like the Ghostbuster campaign, is that they have a big name on Kickstarter because they'd run a huge campaign a few years ago. So they had a big list of Kickstarter backers they could access. And of course, there's a big trend for smartwatches. So congratulations to the people at Pebble Time. That's great that you're able to do that. And I'm curious to see one of the new watches when they come out. That'll be exciting. So that's it for our coverage of March 2015. Thanks for your time. We'll be back again a month from now, and we'll talk about what happened in April. So we'll see you then.